let us understand structure of neuron. Neurons are the basic building blocks of the nervous system. Neuron is the largest cell in the body. It has 3 components: cell body, dendrites, axon. The cell body of a neuron contains cytoplasm and a nucleus. A number of long and thin fibers stretch out from the cell body of a neuron. They are called nerve fibers. The shorter fibers on the cell body of a neuron are called dendrites, whereas axon is the longest fiber of a neuron. It has an insulating and protective sheath of myelin, which is made of fats and proteins. The neurons carry messages in the form of electrical signals, called nerve impulses. The dendrites pick up the nerve impulses from receptors. They pass the impulses to the cell body, and then along the axon. The axon passes the impulse to another neuron through a junction called synapse. In this way, the impulse is carried from one neuron to another, and is finally delivered to the brain, or the spinal cord. Reflex action is the simplest, rapid, automatic, and involuntary response to a stimulus, which is not under the control of the brain. For example, if we unknowingly touch a hot object, we immediately move our hand away from it. This sort of very fast, automatic response is called the reflex action. The stimulus here is the heat, which is sensed by a heat receptor in our hand on touching the hot object. The receptor triggers an impulse in a sensory neuron, which transmits the message to the spinal cord. Here, the impulse is passed on to a relay neuron, which in turn passes it to a motor neuron. The motor neuron passes the impulse to a muscle in our arm, which is an effector. The muscle then contracts and pulls our hand away from the hot object. In this way, the effector responds to the stimulus. This pathway, taken by nerve impulses, in a reflex action, is called the reflex arc. The reflexes of this type, which involve only the spinal cord, are called spinal reflexes. Let us study about human brain. Brain is the main coordinating center in the human body. It is located inside the skull of our body. It is broadly divided into 3 major parts, namely forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. The forebrain consists mainly of cerebrum. The cerebrum is the main thinking part of the brain. It is the site of our activities, such as learning, reasoning, intelligence, personality, and memory. Thus, you are able to play video games due to this part of the brain. It has separate sensory areas to receive information from the sense organs, like eyes, nose, ears, etc., and give us the sensation. It controls all our thoughts, sensations, actions, and movements. All the voluntary actions, like kicking a football, are coordinated by the cerebrum. The midbrain controls reflex movements of the head, neck, and trunk in response to visual and auditory stimuli. It also controls the reflex movements of the eye muscles, changes in pupil size and shape of the eye lens. The hindbrain consists of three centers, called pons, cerebellum, and medulla. The pons help in regulating respiration. The cerebellum helps in maintaining posture and balance of the body. Because of cerebellum, we can stand upright, keep our balance, and move around. It also coordinates the smooth body movements, like walking in a straight line, dancing, riding a bicycle, and picking up a pencil, etc. Medulla controls various involuntary actions, such as heartbeat, blood pressure, salivation, vomiting, and peristaltic movements of alimentary canal. Thus the brain controls everything we do, even when we are asleep. The growth movement of a plant part in response to an external stimulus. The direction of stimulus determines the direction of response. You know that photo means light. The movement of a plant part in response to light is called phototropism. Let us understand the concept of phototropism with the help of given activity. Take a potted plant growing in a transparent glass jar, and keep it in an open area. After a few days, it is observed that the stem of the plant grows straight up towards the source of light, that is the sun. The root of the plant also grows straight, but in the downward direction. Now keep the same potted plant, having straight stem and root, near a window, in a dark room, so that sunlight falls on it from one side only. After a few days, we will see that the stem of the plant bends towards the side from where the light is coming. This observation shows that the stem of the plant responds to light and bends towards it. Even the leaves of the plant bend towards the sun, so as to obtain the maximum sunlight. Thus, the stem and leaves of the plant are positively phototropic, while the roots of the plant are negatively phototropic, because they grow away from the light. The endocrine system is made up of glands that produce and secrete hormones to regulate the body. Let us understand the endocrine system in humans. There are large number of endocrine glands in the human body. They are pineal gland, hypothalamus gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid glands, thymus, pancreas, adrenal glands, testes, only in males, and ovaries, only in females. The hormones produced by endocrine glands act as messengers between the nervous system and the organs of our body. Hypothalamus gland is present in the brain. It produces, releasing hormones and inhibitory hormones.